We are recording, and today's webinar will be available to watch later this afternoon on our YouTube channel. And we will post that as soon as possible. You're welcome to watch and rewatch. We'll share the link in the next issue of the My Alliance newsletter that will be out on Monday, February 17th. Please make sure that you are muted so we don't have any background noise interfering. And if you need closed captioning, you should see the button at the bottom of your screen that says show captions, CC. You can turn that on anytime and have those captions rolling across the screen. Feel free to use the chat feature if you have questions or comments during our time together. I'm doing double duty today. Usually our speaker speaks, but this time we are going to have a conversation, Dr. Caldwell and I. So I'll keep one eye on Dr. Caldwell and one eye on the chat. And if I had a third eye, I'd do something else useful with it. But I'll do the best I can with the two eyes I have. And we'll make sure to share information that way. I believe we'll have some time for questions that you can unmute yourselves and raise your hand and say out loud if you like. So do that. I also will be, with my third eye and my third hand, we'll share some links in the chat. That will be how to read more about the Mama Joe Project and some things that we're doing at KU. That'll come later. All of that said, it's time to get started, and I'm very excited to introduce Dr. Herb Caldwell, who is the Chief of Compliance and Engagement and the Title IX Coordinator at Logan University across the state of Missouri in Chesterfield, Missouri. Dr. Caldwell is also the director of the Mama Joe Project, and we're going to say more about that after I finish this welcome. But I just want to say that I met Dr. Caldwell last summer at the Juneteenth event that KU hosted. And I was, as some of the elders might say, I was ear hustling. And I overheard him talking about doing a movie about Alzheimer's disease. And I said, oh, hmm. And here we are today in February. So you'll hear more about what happened after I eavesdropped on his conversation. And now we have this wonderful movie and this wonderful project. So Dr. Caldwell, welcome. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me, and good afternoon to everyone. And I believe I heard someone say it earlier, so I'm not going to offer any condolences to my friends in the Kansas City area. You guys will be back next year. I believe in you guys. You'll be back. You keep wearing that red, proud and strong.
Thank you. On behalf of all of the Chiefs fans, we appreciate that. Okay, so Dr. Caldwell, let's talk about the Mama Joe Project. And so I know, and you know, and now all of us will get to find out, who is Mama Joe?
Yeah, so Mama Joe is my mother, Joanna, and just a woman with an incredible mothering force. If you ever seen someone who give their life and just is only concerned about helping others, that was my mother. And I'm the only boy born, right? My parents had 4 children. I was the only boy and the youngest. But through the process of adoption, I actually grew up as the middle child. 4 sisters, all older, 4 brothers, all younger, and there was always a cousin, friend, stranger. So my mother getting the nickname Mama Joe was well earned because to everyone in our community, neighborhood, those who came to our town, even for college, just a tremendous mothering force. So.
Wonderful. And having participated in the project and watched the movie, I can co-sign everything you said about Mama Joy just being everybody's mama and someone who we celebrate and can learn from. So you told us a bit about your team, 4 sisters before you, 4 brothers
Yeah.
after you in the middle. And your family, from what I saw in the movie and from what I saw at the screening last December, is so warm and wonderful. And we heard stories about how they received love from Mama Joe and then turned around and gave that love right back to her. Tell us more about how that happened before and after her diagnosis.
Yeah. So a family to my mother and to my family is not so much about DNA, it's about connection, right? And so because my mother was so connected, and my mother was a person, just a active, active in reading, active in walking. So we never thought she'd be someone who would have any type of chronic illness. Right, ran a lot of feeding programs, soup kitchens in our community, so had connections from a wide background of people. So again, never had any thought that she would be a person. I'm not even sure I ever saw my mother eat any type of fast food or double cheeseburger, right? So just never assumed that she would be a person who would be in a position where would have such a chronic and devastating disease like Alzheimer's. But when she did, and part of this project was sharing our family story so that other families will know what this looked like, right? The dynamics that are involved. But we don't want them to feel hopeless, right? And so my mother had this switch from where she was the one who gave and helped everyone else. Now she's one who needs help and care herself. So that's one of the things that we do with the project is kind of show how that flip happens. So
Wonderful. I think I know a lot of us have our cameras off, but I feel like there's a lot of nodding along. I feel like a lot of us on this call can certainly relate to that transition from the one who took care of us to now the one we need to take care of. So tell us about how you went from my mom is the best mom of all, and I'll just pause and say my mom is here also. So my mom is the best mom of all also.
understood.
Yes. But how do you go from my mom is this wonderful, amazing person who is now in a position of needing to receive support because of cognitive change? I know, I'll make a movie about that. How do
Yeah.
you make that happen?
Honestly, I describe it as I received a divine tap one day, right? And so I feel missional about doing this. But if you think about the little bit I've told you about my family, a woman who's given her whole life about helping others, when I approach my family with the idea of my father, because hey, we have to show this, we have to be vulnerable. And this is not scripted. This is real life. These dynamics, and you know, one of the only things that is predictable about Alzheimer's or dementia and the related caregiving is that it's unpredictable, right? But there was so much information that we did not have starting on this journey. And we wanted families and individuals to be better positioned to navigate on their own. And I didn't enjoy reading books very much as a child, but we had to go to the library. I know, right? An educator who doesn't like to read. Um, but as a child, the books I most enjoyed were those that had pictures associated with, right? Alzheimer's, dementia can be tough to talk about. But if you can add a few pictures, so I look at the personal narrative of our family in the movie as kind of an illustration, kind of a picture that will help other families connect with the other hard and fast facts of dementia and caregiving. So that's what it was for us, Kelly. It was a tool that hopefully other families can learn, have their awareness raised, but also know that they're not alone in this fight. That other families are navigating with them and hopefully providing hope that they too can get through it.
That is
Mhm.
fantastic. And I know that, I got to see a part of your movie making magic. I got to sit in front of your camera, which was pretty impressive to see you navigate holding this camera and asking me questions and directing me toward this final project you wanted to have. And I know the story about how I got involved in the movie. And if it's okay with you for me to say, I will share that there are a lot of people in this movie from a lot of different places. There are family caregivers. There are people like me who know a lot about a subject. I happen to be the Medicare person in the movie. I talked a lot about how to use Medicare. You had folks from other Alzheimer's disease research centers. You had people from across the country, from Seattle to Florida, Maryland, California. How does that happen? How do you get people to agree to talk to you about this? And I'm asking in support of your movie, Dr. Caldwell, but also because I'm always looking for people to talk on this weekly
Yeah.
webinar. So I want to know
Well,
your secret.
listen, when I first started, I had no one who would meet with me, no one who would talk with me. And if I'm being honest, I didn't even know how to rightly define dementia as a set of conditions, right? And Alzheimer's as a specific neurological disease. Um, but the community surrounding this, they're so passionate about wanting to help. So once I got one scholar to sit with me, another scholar sat with me. And I'm sitting with folks at the CDC. I'm sitting with people at AARP. I'm sitting with faculty at UCLA. I'm sitting with faculty and folks in Georgia, in Texas. And most of it just came by referral. They saw our heart, they saw our mission, and they wanted to help. Right. And so
Yeah.
when you're making an independent film with little to no money, you're not paying people big honorariums. They just wanted to be a part and share their information, knowing that other families will be helped. Other individuals will get connected to resources. And that's what this project is all about. Kelly, if you
Okay.
had to ask me, we're
Okay.
about raising
Audio,
awareness.
audio. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. There you go.
We're about
Okay, go
we're
ahead.
about we're about raising awareness, but also highlighting information and resources so that people can be connected.
Excellent. And I think that is such the thing that draws us all together. I know that's what is motivating to me at the ADRC on a professional level and in a personal way because of my own experience with my grandmothers um, on this journey. So it's really empowering to think that in the face of this disease, none of us would have asked for, none of
Yeah.
us would have signed up for. We can take our experience and make it so that somebody else can get some help. One of my favorite parts of the movie is actually you, Dr. Caldwell. And I'm not just saying that because you're on camera with me, but I love the part when after we hear about Mama Joe and we see how your family rallied to support her. I love that you said, so I have this beloved, precious mother who had this diagnosis. And I wonder what that means for me. And I know that a lot of us think that. A lot of us think, what does it mean for me if someone I love, someone in my family who I share DNA with, what does it mean if they have this disease? How shall I respond to that? Tell us about what you did, Dr. Caldwell, in terms of your own brain health assessment.
So again, our family knew so little about Alzheimer's and dementia when we got started. But some of the things that I was learning during the course of doing this project was that early detection is key. And so I was born in 1974. And so this summer, as my birthday was approaching, I said, I think I'll go get tested. And so in my area, ADRC, I signed up and they said, wait a minute, don't just sign up, bring your camera crew. And so they did an early dementia assessment with me, but allowed us to film the whole thing. And so we show a portion of it in the film. And I got to tell you, you guys might not be able to tell, but I'm nearly 6'8" tall, right? So I'm a pretty big guy, but that means I'm a big baby when it comes to testing or anything having to go see your primary care physician. But two things, Kelly, as to why I did it is I'm understanding when you're personally impacted how important Alzheimer's and dementia awareness is. And the other thing is I know that particularly for males, we can be even more resistant, to getting our checkups done. And so I wanted to demystify the process. No one's going to, kidnap you and do a spinal tap unless that's what you signed up for, right? It was non-invasive, but it was pretty thorough in how they assessed me cognitively. And I walked away with knowledge of exactly where my baselines were. I survived it, guys. Right? I'm still here. And so it's important for us to say that because we have to let people know that Alzheimer's and dementia, yeah, it can get scary when you don't know, but it's not an immediate death sentence. And we can live with Alzheimer's and dementia, and we can navigate this and still live, full lives. So it was important that I, was able to do that, Kelly, and share that.
I love how you said that you survived it and nobody strapped you down to a table and
That's
made you
right.
do it. But I love that you took the initiative, and that's something that at our ADRC, we are definitely encouraging early detection, early diagnosis, early medication and intervention and support groups and weekly webinars and the My
Yeah.
Alliance for Brain Health, all of those things. It's never too early to do. I wonder, I'm going to go back a little bit. When you said to your provider, okay, so I'm 50, I want to do this. Did you get any pushback from them, or were they all in from the start?
I did not, and I live in Illinois, and there's an ADRC in the Chicagoland area, but then there's a
Mhm.
singular ADRC for the rest of the state. Right?
Mhm.
And so when I do that, I just explained this is my age. My mother had Alzheimer's, and so that was enough to meet the criteria to want to be tested. So no, they were great. They did a great job of explaining exactly what I was going to do. Um, what it meant. And so this is at the Southern Illinois University's Smith Center for Alzheimer's. And they were great in the process. So what it's done is made me an advocate, right? So when I'm traveling doing these events, I can speak from experience now to advocate for why folks should get early detection testing.
Excellent. And that reminds me, I did not ask Dr. Caldwell to say what he said the way he said it, but it just reminds me to remind you all that we have one ADRC in the state of Kansas, and
Oh,
this is
wow.
it. We just have KU, and then we are lucky enough to be close enough to WashU, Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri. And then from there, we've got, sounds like the Chicago area, I believe Minneapolis or somewhere in Minnesota.
Yes, yes.
And then there's a big space in this heart of America where we are, a big space where KU is your best bet. And those of us who are Jayhawks like to feel pretty special when we say that. Well, KU is the place to go. There are only 35 Alzheimer's disease research centers in the entire country, which means there's not one for every state. And so please consider yourselves fortunate that you have access to KU ADRC and all the great work we're doing. And I don't mean to pat myself on the back too much. But I am so grateful that we have this program here, and I'm even more grateful for all of you who contribute by participating in our webinars, by doing our research, by reading our newsletter, by doing the brain booster and telling me they were way too hard or way too easy or whatever it is the case may be. But know that you are contributing to something that is going to have a great impact nationwide and globally. So, end of commercial. Back to you, Dr. Caldwell. Um, Tell us who should watch this movie. I mean, other than everybody, who is
Yeah.
this movie really addressing?
It really is. We want it to be inclusive of everyone, right? We know that Alzheimer's, dementia, caregiving can impact us all. But we also know the data is really clear that there are certain communities that are disparately impacted, right? Women make up 2/3 of people diagnosed, right? Blacks and Latinos, folks who are in rural spaces, people who are on the lower edges of income, right? And so we wanted to make sure that everyone was included. But we tell the story from this perspective of the person um, who actually was at a triple threat of risk, a 60-year-old plus African American woman. But it's a story that literally everyone can get into. And so, as you know, not only is the film available for viewing and broadcast, but we show it in movie theaters as part of educational community outreach. And when I tell you at these events, it's not uncommon to have both baby strollers and walkers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We encourage from every age, because even in my own family, there were 4 generations of folks who were part of the caregiving team for my mother. So why wait so late in the process? And if early detection is a big thing, we want to catch people. I'm talking to my 20-year-old sons about this now, right? So they can grow up with the information and access to the resources that we didn't have. So it really is, I'm not kidding when I say it's a film that's appropriate for everyone. And at our outreach events, they're open and free to anyone.
Excellent. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about the movie is that it really makes this information that can be overwhelming so accessible. And it makes you feel like I'm not alone in this. There is somebody else who has gone through this, who can understand, somebody else who looks like me, somebody else who lives like me. And they made it. I can too. I love what you said about your own assessment, where you said you survived it. You didn't have to have a spinal tap. Spinal tap is just one of many ways that we can literally tap into your brain and your body to see what's going on. So I see questions coming into the chat. I'm going to go sort of in order of easiest to hardest to answer. So
Okay.
David, yours is easier. Is there going to be a viewing of the film in the Kansas City area? Yes. Dr. Caldwell and I are in talks about that. We're going to figure out a place to have it. We're going to invite you. We even talked briefly this week about the possibility of having it on campus at KU, but we all know that parking at KU is terrible. So I probably shouldn't say that on a recording. So it's probably not likely to be anywhere at the KU Medical Center. You're all welcome for that. But we do want to find a place to have it. So if you know of any place that might be willing to host a screening, holler at me. And we want to do this as soon as possible. especially after the threat of snow is gone. And we know we had a big snow yesterday. So probably in the spring or summer, we will see, and you will be the first to know. Thank you, Elizabeth, for your kind words about this project being encouraging. I agree. The name of the movie, Diane, is Dr. Caldwell. Tell us the name of the movie.
My Mama Joe, Hope and Help. My Mama
My
Joe,
Mama
Hope and Help.
And here's where I'm using my third hand to put in the chat the link to the movie. And also, Dr. Caldwell, can we go ahead and show the trailer now?
Sure. And can I answer? I see that I can see the chat. Sure, my person
Yes, you
G.
can.
So I literally have been on a call this week with folks in Seattle at the University of Washington, as well as their area agency on aging. So yes, before June, we'll be in Seattle, Washington. Okay, now
Yes,
guys,
very good. Okay.
forgive me if I'm being technically inefficient, but
Yeah, you're good. You're
I can
good.
share.
Um, I think you should be able to share your screen. Make sure you share sound, and it should come
All
up.
right.
For those asking, what about my area, this area, that area, and what about on Zoom? We are going to do everything in our power to make this video or this movie accessible to everybody in as many ways as possible. We have a way that we know you can watch it. I don't know, I'll speak for myself. I'm kind of holding on to that way that you could watch it because we really want to promote you coming out of your house and having community to see this. Like Dr. Caldwell said, we got baby strollers and we got walkers and everybody in between. So much like our movie Why, I know a lot of you watched the movie Why in the last couple of years. We want as many people to come out and see this together as possible because we want people to see each other and to know that they're not alone and to know that this movie exists and that there are resources that will help. That being said,
The
we
other thing,
know.
can I speak to that,
Yes,
Kelly, just
please cut
quickly?
in. Yes.
And I'm very thankful that we have a platform, a wide platform, a nationwide platform for our film to stream. But I got to tell you, those in-person outreach events, not just because of the isolation piece, but also because you're able to hear the Q&A from local experts. I know here in the St. Louis area, I have some of my friends online from Memory Care Home Solutions. They're literally an organization that will help walk a family from A to Z. You don't really get that if you're watching the film in isolation. But when you're at events, those are the types of resources that you get connected to. We tend to have an information table at every event where our folks are able to get even more additional resources. And we tend to supply popcorn, candy, and drink combo. So you got to have popcorn in a movie, right? So I really do like these in-person events that we call community engagement forums. Okay, Kelly, am I okay to
Yes.
try to show this now?
I think you're okay, and I've got it back up in case we need it, but I think
All
let's
right,
try from your end
let's
first.
give it a
Yeah.
shot.
Okay.
Who is Mama Joe? A friend, sister, devoted wife, community champion, and amazing mother, not only to her 10 children, but as play mom and loving surrogate to many others from all walks and backgrounds. She was dedicated to enriching lives as social worker, pastor, and fierce advocate for the hurting and hungry, including her signature feeding program, which is still active today.
Our family was initially rocked by my mother's dementia diagnosis. We're sharing her story so others can be informed and prepared.
One of the hallmarks of dementia and Alzheimer's disease is changes in a person's memory or thinking. They may have a more difficult time remembering the names of people they've just met, remembering why they walked into a room or what they were looking for. We're going to have more old people, and that means we are going to have more people who are dealing with Alzheimer's and dementia in the years ahead.
We are getting older, and we want to prepare for that, whatever that looks like, because it's not fair to our children or our relatives if we put them in a position where their life is altered greatly.
2/3 of the people living with dementia are women. We know that African Americans have dementia at twice the rate of white Americans. And we know that Hispanics have it at 1.5 times. So that clues people into the fact that the social determinants of health have a lot to do with people's increased risks for dementia.
Family members often become caregivers for ill loved ones, like Noah, who has assisted with Mama Joe's care for half of his life, but is now 5 hours away at college.
And I'm just away completely. I know she misses me, and like I'll come back and she'll light up, but it's hard. I'll be in my room just thinking, and then it'll come up, my Mama Joe at home sick.
He's found support on campus, including from the university president, who also served as a youth caregiver to loved ones with dementia.
I want to continue to advocate for advancing health and safety and innovation through Dillard's Community University and my own personal family and my own philanthropy to help others to deal with this life-altering situation we find ourselves in with dementia and Alzheimer's.
Combining Mama Joe's story with the expertise of researchers and practitioners, this film, along with community outreach events, serve as tools to better position families for aging, brain health, and an improved quality of life for all.
All right. Thank you. That was, I watched that as though I had never seen it before and I loved it. I'm so proud and so happy that it's available. We've got about 4 minutes left in our time. I want to make sure I answer all the questions. Thank you all for the suggestions of venues. I'm definitely going to keep those on the list. And you're right, all the same places that we showed why would be great places to show my Mama Joe. So I'll keep that in mind. I want to get back to a question we had in the chat. Is there a list of criteria to get tested for Alzheimer's disease that we can reference? I have some thoughts about that, but Dr. Caldwell, do you want to address that from your perspective first?
Well, I was just going to say with the ones that we talked with, they wanted to know that there was some type of potential risk that was there, right? So is there an age? Has there been some type of brain or head trauma that has caused that, a family history? So they did ask those few questions in assessing my own. So.
Okay. Thank you. I will add to that, we know so much about Alzheimer's disease. We know so much more than we knew 25 years ago, and certainly than we knew 100 years ago. We still are at this mystery of what constellation or combination of things has to exist for someone to get Alzheimer's. And we know that lots of things are involved: age, gender, race, heart health, blood sugar, blood pressure, environment, depression, anxiety. I mean, name it, and it's probably related to risk of Alzheimer's disease. What we don't know is that what combination of any or all of those things has to happen to then make Alzheimer's happen. We can have someone who has none of those things in particular. I'm related to 2 people in that case who just happen to be old Black women, my grandmothers, didn't have any of those other factors and got Alzheimer's disease. We see people who are living to be, 92 or 93 years old, doing great, and have no dementia problems whatsoever. And then we've got everybody else in between. So all of that is to say, I don't know that we have a checklist of things that we should absolutely look for or not look for. I will say that anybody who is a Medicare beneficiary should talk with their provider at their annual wellness visit about memory screening, about, 6 months ago, doctor, I didn't have any trouble with my memory, and now I'm having a harder time remembering appointments or how to drive my car or whatever the case may be. So talk to your provider at your annual wellness visit if you're on Medicare. Establish a baseline. So today, February 13th, I'm feeling like this. In a year when I come back, I'm feeling like this still, or something's different, and we can go from there. Diagnosing Alzheimer's is absolutely multifactorial. We look at brain images. We look at lab work. We talk to our families. We narc on our families. We tell the doctor, she's having a harder time and I need you to help me figure that out. We do it in love. So I shouldn't say narc or snitch. I say we share information. So anyway, all of those things should be in place for a comprehensive diagnosis of Alzheimer's. No one should let anybody tell you that if you're a certain age and you forgot something, oh, well, it's all over for you, because that is not true. All right, so, wow, we still have, my clock just turned to 2:30. I'm so impressed. Any other questions? I'm going to save the chat so I can remember all these great ideas you all had. Any other questions for Dr. Caldwell? about the movie or about anything that he can share with us?
Well, let me say this though. Thank you for being involved. Thank you for being a part, because that helps not only demystify, but destigmatize Alzheimer's and dementia. And I got to tell you, literally, last Sunday had a young guy come up to me. I had no idea that he'd even been to see the movie, and he was asking the questions. What do you think about this? So by you folks being on webinars, you're more informed than maybe some other people. So they will look at you as a source of information, as a resource. So thank you for being in these spaces where you're learning, where you're getting more, because you'll be able to share that information with others, because we don't want people feeling afraid about Alzheimer's and dementia. And more importantly, we don't want them feeling alone. So thank you for your contributions in helping to make sure people are not feeling alone. There is hope in this thing. There's information, there's resources, there's breakthrough, both in pharma and non-pharma type treatments and therapies. And so things are getting better. They're getting better. So I appreciate you for being involved and participating. And Kelly, thank you for having me on this call. I
Yes,
feel honored. Thank you so much.
Of course. I see another question, a couple other questions in the chat that I want to address. One is, at what point do you move on from your primary provider to consideration of a KU-ADRC evaluation if a study is available, or if you have, I love this phrase, a non-problematic brain, but a family history? I'll tell you that it is always a great idea, I'm biased, but always a great idea to talk to the recruitment team at the ADRC for studies that we're doing, whether your brain is problematic or not. Because as much as we want to know what the brain of someone with dementia looks like, we also need to know what a healthy brain is like.
Yes.
We need to know, maybe you're fine, maybe you do have a family history or you don't. And if you are fine, if you have no particular cognitive change, what is that magic thing in your brain that we can harness so everybody can take advantage of it? So we're always interested in people participating in our studies. So I can't tell you necessarily a certain day or an age or a time, but it's never too early, never ever too early. And it doesn't have to be because you are concerned about a potential diagnosis. It can be just because you want to share information about brain health. We are the Alzheimer's Disease Research Center. Some of you may also know that if you want to visit our website, you can go to kualzheimers.org. But you can also type into Google KU Brain Health, because not only are we interested in this dementia diagnosis, we are interested in how to keep people's brains healthy in the first place. Okay, I saw somebody mention the APOE gene in the chat also. So we know that there is some genetic component to all diseases, including Alzheimer's disease. We know that having one or more copies of the APOE gene may increase risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. We also know that having the gene itself doesn't necessarily mean you will have Alzheimer's disease. So this gene piece is something a lot of us want to latch on to. Beyond that, let's say we know we have the gene, then what? We are not at the point scientifically where we can say, oh, we'll just take that one gene out and then you won't get Alzheimer's disease. Wouldn't that be nice if we could? But we are not there yet. So the conversation is continuing. If you want to know more about the APOE gene from a neurologist perspective, last week we had Dr. Burns and Dr. Swerdlow on the webinar, and they talked about that. You can watch the recording on our YouTube channel. And you can really trust what they say because they are neurologists. And I just repeat what they say. So I wanted to honor that. And then thank you all for all your comments in the chat. Next week, I will say, is a very special day. All the Thursdays are special, but next Thursday is especially special because it is One Day, One KU, and that's our annual 24-hour day of giving. And I say that not because I'm trying to get money out of you, but we are going to have a special guest on our webinar, Dr. Robin Honey, who is a neuroimaging specialist. And she is going to talk about how neuroimaging helps us figure out how the brain works. And that is part of our One Day, One KU events. But even more important, we are giving you information. So join us next Thursday, 2 o'clock for neuroimaging. It'll be in the newsletter on Monday. You'll read more about that. And we'll be very happy to share information with you. I see in the chat, can we watch the movie on YouTube? Eventually, I think, is that a good answer, Dr. Caldwell, or do you want to address
Yes,
that?
not at present.
Okay, but it will be available. I promise you will get to see it no matter where you are, right?
True.
You'll definitely get to see it in Kansas City. And if you're not in Kansas City, we promise that you'll be able to see it. Also, if you go to mamajoeproject.com, you'll see some places where the movie is screening, including, I just found out today, at the Carter Center in Atlanta. The President Jimmy Carter Center in Atlanta is going to be showing this movie. And forgive my ego, guys, but I'm going to be in a movie at the Carter Center. Wow, how wonderful. It's also in Houston, Atlanta, where else? St. Louis.
Portland, will be in Phoenix, will be in New York City. Nearly every major market, either we're already scheduled in or we're literally in contact with folks who are asking us to come to those places.
All right. Very good. Okay. I could keep you all forever, but I suppose we'll wrap up now. Again, the movie is called
My Mama Joe, Hope and Help, and we'll be
Yes.
coming to a city near you. And but also watch maybe your local listings on public media television stations. Starting February 5th, they have been broadcasting it. It's not on a national schedule, but it is available to every single PBS station in the country. And so I know that they are showing it because I'm getting calls from places I've never been. But yeah, visit our website, and you certainly can ask me any questions. So.
Thank you so much. Yes, I was waiting for Dr. Caldwell to say it first. It is available through PBS. And if any of you out there are the calling type, you like to call people and tell them what they need to be doing, call PBS and tell them they need to show this movie. I think that would be a lot of fun. I actually have a contact at our local PBS station. I should call and pester him. All right, so that's our time, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today. We look forward to seeing you next time for neuroimaging. Have a great week. Happy Valentine's Day. We love you. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you, Dr. Caldwell.
Thank you. It was great.
Thank you.